All right, we're live.
All right. This evening is our monthly meeting of the Board of Adjustment. While we are having to change how we operate, we are still committed to a transparent process and encouragement of public comment during our meetings. We will be accepting public comments based on using the hand raise feature. You can raise your hand at any time and we will recognize you as we get to the public participation portion of the agenda for each case. Director of Planning Joe Vunich will be moderating the Zoom meeting and will be asked to provide names of those individuals that wish to speak, again, as hands are raised. I would like to call the meeting of the City of Wildwood's Board of Adjustment to order. The board members present today are Jared Frank, Vice Chair, Deborah Coleman, Board Member, Arnie Sprunger, Board Member, Jim Rubis, Alternate, and myself, Mary Giles, Chair. The Department of Planning staff present is Joe Vunich, Director of Planning, and Robin Keefe, Planner. Assistant City Attorney Sam Buffa, and Court Reporter Courtney Tallman are also present. First, I offer into the record the affidavit of publication pertaining to today's meeting, November 18th, 2021, and take official notice of the zoning ordinance of the City of Wildwood, including Chapter 400, Article 2, authorizing and establishing the Board of Adjustment's powers and duties. Now, let me explain the hearing procedure. Please be aware the information I'm about to describe is also provided on the Board of Adjustment public hearing procedure handout, which was available online prior and up to tonight's meeting. This hearing is informal in its nature. However, the meeting's proceedings will be recorded by a reporter for future transcription if needed. The petitions are called in the order listed on the agenda. As the petition is called, I will ask a Department of Planning staff member to read each request into the record. Thereafter, the Department of Planning will have opening remarks and a brief slide presentation. Then the petitioner or his or her representative will be asked to state their name and address, be sworn in by the court reporter, and make a brief presentation to the board explaining the nature of the requested variance and the hardship necessitating it. The board will only consider the nature and condition of the property and whether these factors mandate a variance in order to allow for its full utilization. Board members may ask questions to clarify the facts of the petitioner's presentation. When the board is satisfied with the material presented by the petitioner, the chair will then ask if there's anyone present online who would like to speak in favor or opposition to the request. Each speaker will be asked to provide their name and address, be sworn in, and then state their comments. Procedurally, the petitioner may request a continuance at any time during the hearing prior to a call for the vote in order to bring in additional documentation or information. The board may also request a continuance to gather additional information or for a further visit to the site. After the conclusion of input from all interested parties, the board will ask a staff person to provide the Department of Planning's report on this matter if requested by any member of the board, the petitioner, or any individual that is participating online. Additionally, any other information not presented in the previous testimony but pertinent to the request will be noted at this time. Once all speakers have been heard, the chair will call for a motion to grant or deny with or without conditions. Then the board will vote. At that time, the discussion relating to the petition is concluded and no further input will be permitted. The board will generally make a decision today. 4 members of the board must vote in favor of the petition for it to be approved. If a variance is approved, the petitioner has 6 months to obtain the necessary permits or establish the use, or it will expire. If the board's decision is unfavorable, the petitioner has the right of appeal to the St. Louis County Circuit Court. This appeal must be done within 30 days of the decision. Mr. Vunich, are there any questions at this time?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And to the attendees, if you have any questions regarding what the chair has just read into tonight's record, if you would use the raise hand feature or enter something in chat, we'll promote you to panelists so you can ask your question. Madam Chair, if you'll just give us about 5 or 10 seconds, we'll see. Madam Chair, it appears they are ready to go, like the board. Thank you.
All right, hearing no questions, the board will proceed. Please read the first request into the record, which will be followed by initial comments by the Department of Planning and a brief slide presentation.
Again, thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair and members of the board, the first case tonight is BA 17-21, David Spitznagel, 1045 Dabbler Park Drive, Wildwood, Missouri, 63005. Request an exception to the minimum yard requirements general for the purpose of constructing a garage and bedroom addition upon the property located at 1045 Dabbler Park Drive, locator number 21W 130054, Wardenburg Estate, which would thereby authorize a front yard setback distance of 11 feet in lieu of the required 50 feet for the proposed addition. The request is contrary to the requirements of Chapter 415.070 FP floodplain district regulations and Chapter 415.090 NU non-urban resident district regulations of the City of Wildwood zoning ordinance. The addition, emphasize, is not located in the floodplain area of the lot. This particular property is located in Ward 1. Madam Chair and members of the board, before Ms. Keefe provides the slide presentation, the department would like to enter into the record the following items. Chapter 400, Article 2 of the City of Wildwood Municipal Code, the Board of Adjustment. Chapter 415 of the same City of Wildwood Municipal Code, the zoning ordinance. The file that has been developed and maintained by the Department of Planning regarding this particular request, and all contents contained therein, including the department's report with recommendation. And then finally, any testimony, exhibits, plats, maps, or other items offered as evidence at tonight's hearing. Thank you.
All right, Madam Chair and members of the board, our first case of the evening is regarding a subject property that is located off of Babbler Park Drive in northwestern Wildwood. Babbler Park Drive is a state maintained highway. The property in question has an odd shape to it. It's about 6.5 acres with 175 feet of frontage on Babbler Park Drive and about 1,500 feet lengthwise with an east-west orientation. It has one single family dwelling on the property, and it is to be rezoned non-urban, though it is currently in our Park and Scenic zoning district. Also, I should mention that it would also be our floodplain district, non-urban residence district, if approved for the rezoning, because we do, because there is a floodplain that exists on the property. Bonhomme Creek bisects the property as depicted. As with many parcels in Wildwood, and given the size, it can be expected that there is a slope associated with it. In this case, we have over 100 feet of relief on the property, descending to Bonhomme Creek from both ends. The residence on property was built in circa 1915. Given the age, which is over 75 years old, it does, the current residence is on the Wildwood Historic Building Inventory. And therefore, the Historic Preservation Commission has reviewed this request and given their recommendation, which was approval. They have determined that the addition as submitted is aesthetically pleasing and will maintain the historic structure within it. Here you can see the proposed addition in red. It is to be a garage and master bedroom. There is also a new segment of driveway included in the project that will run, that trends in front of the property and enters into the new garage. In the red outline, we have the existing structure. And then in pink, we have the decks associated, and then the shaded deck is the new deck. Here we have the existing gravel ribbon drive. And here we have Babbler Park Drive. It should be noted that there is about 85 feet of public right-of-way from the front property line to Babbler Park Drive. The proposed addition as depicted is 14 feet and 6 inches away from the front property line. And the petitioners are requesting an 11-foot setback in lieu of the 50-foot setback. Obviously, the existing home was in existence prior to the 50-foot setback. and we are well out of the floodplain as depicted. This is the 500-year line, and we are more than 50 feet even from the 500-year. And here you just have a view of the elevations associated with the new addition. And then this is the view of the front of the home, which you can see through these trees, and the beginning of the existing gravel ribbon drive. And this view is looking southwest. And this is looking northwest, Babbler Park Drive. And this is, oops, and this is the view southeast. Here I give you a perspective from Babbler Park Drive to where the new addition is to be, is proposed, to give you an idea of the distance from the roadway. And this is a closer view of where the new addition will go in. And this is an opposite view standing in the northwestern corner of the property. Here you can see the property line as depicted by these white flags. And then this is Babbler Park Drive. View from the driveway across the street. View from the driveway towards the barn structure on property. And this is looking northward, and you can see the existing carport and the rear of the home. And then this is the view to the neighbor looking southeast. This is the front corner of the home on the southern elevation. And then this is the front of the home where the new drive is proposed to be put in. Some of these trees will need to be removed. So our petitioners did introduce this tree preservation plan. The trees in red are those to be removed. In green are those that will be retained or preserved. And the department has been out to visit the property several times and has noted that none of the trees to be removed are especially worth preserving. In fact, a couple are invasive species. This is a view of the rear yard, just behind the home, looking southwest. And this is that same view, but from the area of the proposed addition. This tree is proposed to be preserved, and the new deck will be adjusted accordingly. And then this is looking northwest towards the adjacent property. This is the northern elevation of the home. And then this is the view to Babbler Park Drive again, from the back corner of the home. The most impacted neighbor is in support of the request. But we do have two neighbors, including one that's abutting, that have expressed concerns or are opposed. And that concludes my presentation. Director Vunich and I are here if you have any questions.
Thank you. At this time, can the petitioner please state your name, address, and relation to the property, and then be sworn in by the court reporter?
Madam Chair.
Oh, you want to make some initial comments, don't you?
Not necessarily, ma'am, other than I'm having trouble promoting the attendees to panelists. So I'm going to have to depend on Ms. Keefe to do that. I'm getting an error message. So my apology for the delay.
Raise your hand.
Hello,
Maybe they need to raise your hand.
Hello, Mr. Spitznagel, how are you?
I'm good. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Can you please state your name and address in relation to the property and then be sworn in by the court reporter?
Yes, my name is David Spitznagel. My address is 1045 Babbler Park Drive. Beth and I are the current owners of the property.
Okay, thank you. We can be sworn in by the court reporter, please.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in this cause will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Can you please explain the nature of your request and the hardship or practical difficulty necessitating the variance as it relates to the character of your property?
Yes. So Beth and I moved in about a year and a half ago with hopeful intentions of building onto the house to make it more livable. It's still quite probably 60s. Was the last renovation, maybe 70s. But it's a 1 bedroom, 1 bath with a loft upstairs that can be a bedroom also, or a bunk room, whatever. So we just are hopeful to expand on the existing structure. And when we looked at doing it, from our perspective, prior to all of the regulations and everything, it made sense to build onto the north side of the house, which is where most of our yard off the house exists. If we went to the other side of the house, there was driveway there, and also I later found out that there's actually a floodplain that goes up that drainage way that we would actually be building closer towards the floodplain within the 50 feet restriction. So that is why we built it onto the north side of the house, and that's why we're requesting a variance, because as we build to the north side, it actually takes us, I think, 3 or 4 feet closer to the front setback of 50 feet, which takes us from basically 14-foot setback to a 11-foot setback. I think that's correct. It's close, I think. So that's the reason we decided to build over there. I engaged Jim Martin. The Martins are here with us tonight as well. If anybody was wondering who else was here, they are here also. If you have any questions from an architectural perspective, Jim is more than willing to answer those. But that's in general why we chose the side we chose. Also, we have our neighbor to the north side is probably 1,000 feet away from us through the woods. We can't see him most of the time unless the leaves are off. The neighbor to the south side of us, on the other side of the drainage ditch, is quite close. Their property or their building structure probably starts 10 to 15 feet off of the drainage ditch, which is probably 20 feet off of the side of our house. So we're quite close to them already, and where the house was built. So it again, that's the purpose of building to the north. I think that's it, unless Beth, you have anything else you can think of.
No, we're just wanting to make an update.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Would you mind stating your name and address in relationship to the property, and then be sworn in by the court reporter as well?
Sure. Beth Rozonka, RZONCA. And I live here at 1045 Babler Park Drive.
Okay.
All right, go ahead. Go ahead. Oh, sorry, Courtney.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in this cause will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead. Thank you.
Really, the main part of the addition is mainly a master bedroom and bath on this floor for us to grow into, and obviously the garage. Just to try to update right now, the laundry area is in the kitchen, trying to separate a mudroom off of the garage, just to give it a little more update, a little more livable, and give us a little more space with 7 kids and 4 grandkids.
Okay, thank you. Do any board members have any questions for the petitioners?
A real quick question. You probably considered, and I think you mentioned this, options of where you might put the addition on. But no matter where you put it, at the end of the day, your existing home is still in the setback, right?
Yes, sir.
Correct.
The setback, the 50-foot setback runs like directly through the middle of the existing house.
Right, so even putting on the addition, say, to the west, you're, in theory, you'd still be non-compliant with the setback. And I think, I think that's one of the challenges of dealing with these older homes. I think the other thing that helps a lot is, am I seeing this right? Your property line doesn't go out to Babbler Park Drive, right? Or road?
No, 85 feet off of the actual road.
So in maybe what would be a more normal situation, you really, I mean, you already have kind of an 85-foot setback already. I mean, it's not technically a setback, but from that roadway, you're back a fair amount, right?
Yes, in total, we will be over 100 feet off the road still.
Okay, thank you.
After the addition.
Go ahead, Mr. Rubis.
Yeah, I've got a couple questions. What is the right of way on the other side of Babbler?
On the other side of Babbler.
I don't know.
Are you talking across the highway or which?
Yeah, across from you, directly across the street. Say.
I think that property is owned by Babbler. Across the street.
Is there any right of way there?
I'm not familiar with the right of way over there because the utilities go in front of my side of the highway. So I'm not sure that Missouri has as far a setback on the other side.
Joe, this might be a question for you. The 85-foot right of way on the, I guess, what is that, the south side of Babbler Park Drive? Could you imagine future widening of BA there?
Well, Mr. Rubis, what I would say first is typically the roadway should be in the center of the right-of-way, which in this case would mean the right-of-way would be a minimum of 170 feet in width, which I know is not the case. So I believe the roadway is kind of asymmetrically set in the right-of-way width. And my guess is it's probably somewhere in the range of about 100 feet, which is substantial. Is there a potential for widening? It is a roadway maintained by the Missouri Department of Transportation, so certainly there could be something. But realistically, and given Wildwood's land use policies, this road would, in my opinion, not be widened any time in the near or distant future.
Okay. The trees that would be removed, are any new trees coming onto the area?
Yes, we plan on planting some Missouri legacy trees out front to cover as much as we can, and we will have a landscaping plan prepared.
Okay, and the last question is, what is the size of the addition versus what is the size of the present home?
The present home is a little over 1,300 square feet, and the addition will be, including the garage, will be 1,400 square feet.
Okay.
Are there any other questions for the petitioners? All right, at least this time I'd like to open the floor to any speakers in the audience who may want to speak in favor of or opposition to the request.
Madam Chair, if you'll give Ms. Keefe and I a second, if any of the attendees would like to speak on this particular matter, if you would kindly either use the raise hand feature or enter the request in chat, and then Ms. Keefe will promote you to a panelist so you can speak. Madam Chair, none have raised their hand, nor do I see anything in the chat feature. So thank you.
Thank you. At this time, I'll offer the opportunity to hear an oral presentation of the department's report. Seeing no request for that, does the Department of Planning have any final comments?
Yes, Madam Chair, just very briefly, the Department of Planning, Ms. Keefe and I are recommending approval of the variance. There is a condition associated with that recommendation for approval, and that is the variance would not become effective until such time the property is rezoned. The property was part of Babbler State Park many, many decades ago, and so the designation of the property is Park and Scenic District. The Spitznagels have proceeded forward and they've had a public hearing before the Planning and Zoning Commission to change the zoning. And so with that change, we will, for all intents and purposes, be able to approve the addition. So again, we are recommending approval conditioned on that the zoning be completed before the variance becomes effective. And the rationale for the support of the department of this variance relates to the placement of the current residence. That placement into the front yard setback dictates from a practical difficulty standpoint that the addition be situated to complement the existing dwelling. And so therefore we are supportive. Ms. Keefe and I are available for any questions or comments, and thank you for your attention during the presentations.
Thank you, Director Vinich. Does the board have any final comments?
Yeah, Joe, what, real quick, changing the zoning on that property, would it be just changed to a non-urban? What's that called? I forget what the number is. It's just NU something?
NU non-urban resident district. And
Okay.
so therefore it would be the actual dwelling right now is somewhat of a legal but non-conforming circumstance. And so the Spitznagels are getting it straightened out, so to speak, so that it's permitted by right use like everything else in the vicinity that isn't owned by the Department of Natural Resources.
Any other final comments from the board? All right, at this time, I'd like to close the proceeding for a vote and call for a motion to approve, deny, or approve with conditions.
I vote to approve.
Are there any conditions associated with the motion?
Only that the trees he was talking about would be replaced by native trees.
Deborah, would you also consider a condition that it's approved conditional on the zoning, the rezoning of the property to a non-urban resident?
I think Joe mentioned that what was going to happen.
And that will be sometime in the future.
I second the motion to approve.
Hold on, we have a motion to approve. I'm not sure which conditions are associated with that other than the trees.
Well, I
And
had
then we have,
the condition I had said, Andy had, or I'm sorry, not Andy. I'm not sure I understand when they would rezone that.
okay, all right, so we have a motion to approve with the condition concerning the trees. Do we have a second?
Mhm.
Second.
So Madam Chair.
We have a second. Go ahead, Joe.
As I mentioned, the Spitznagels have applied for the rezoning of the property. The Planning and Zoning Commission has held the public hearing that's required by code. The department will present its recommendation report to the Planning and Zoning Commission at its December 6th meeting. At the beginning of January, the Planning and Zoning Commission should complete its process in terms of recommendation, and City Council should complete the rezoning of the property sometime in late February. And again, the department is respectfully requesting that the variance not become effective until such time the rezoning is completed by City Council.
So Joe, just to be clear, would that be a condition on the approval?
The department's recommendation report does have it as a condition to the approval.
Okay.
And I accept that in my second.
Okay.
Okay.
Can I ask Ms. Coleman to restate her motion then? Or do we,
Okay.
I mean, how do we
Okay,
go
on
from
the
here?
condition. Yes, on the condition that they do it with the rezoning, wait till the rezoning.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve with the condition that the rezoning petition is approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission. And then what was the tree condition?
Replacing the trees that will be taken down by native trees to the area.
All right, do we have a second for that motion?
Yes, second.
All right, we have a second from Mr. Rubus. Mr. Sprunger, how do you vote?
Approve.
Mr. Frank, how do you vote?
Approve.
Ms. Coleman, how do you vote?
Approve.
And I also vote to approve the motion with those stated conditions. Thank you, Mr. Spitznagel, that your variance request has been approved, subject to those specific conditions.
Understood, and thank you. And I'd like to thank Robin and Joe for their support and help. They were very helpful in getting us here. Thank you.
Madam Chair, before we conclude, did Mr. Rubus vote?
Yes, he did. He seconded it. And then I believe, Mr. Rubus, you voted, didn't you?
I did not vote. I didn't know whether you needed my vote as an alternate or not.
We do. Sorry, sir. How do you vote?
I vote approval.
All right, it's unanimous. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on to the next petition. Can it please be read into the official record by Director Munich?
Yes, ma'am. Madam Chair, members of the board, the next case is BA 26-21, Michael and Elizabeth Raber, 1609 Old State Road, Wildwood, Missouri, 63038. Request an exception to the minimum yard requirements general for the purpose of retaining an existing concrete block retaining wall upon the property located at 1609 Old State Road, locator number 25U 410080, Starwood subdivision, lot 3B, which would authorize a side yard setback of 0 feet in lieu of the 30-foot standard. This request is contrary to the requirements of Chapter 415.090 NU non-urban district regulations of the City of Wildwood zoning ordinance. This particular property is located in Ward 6. And again, Madam Chair, with your permission, before Ms. Keith begins her slide presentation, the department would like to enter into the record the following items. Chapter 400, Article 2 of the City of Wildwood Municipal Code, the Board of Adjustment. Chapter 415 of the same City of Wildwood Municipal Code, the zoning ordinance. The file that has been developed and maintained regarding this particular request and all contents contained therein, including the department's report with recommendation. And then finally, Madam Chair, any items that are offered as part of tonight's hearing, those items could include any exhibits, plats, maps, and testimony. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. For the second case of this evening, our subject property is located in the southeast quadrant of Wildwood off of Old State Road, which is a county maintained road. The subject parcel is rectangular in shape. It is approximately 3 acres and it's surrounded by other large lots, generally 3 acres in size. It has an existing single-family dwelling on site built in 2005, and it is zoned non-urban residence district. It is characteristically sloped, as are many of these parcels off of Old State and in Wildwood. It has 130 feet of overall relief on site. Here, You see a boundary survey with the existing driveway depicted here in brown. And the subject of this request is an existing retaining wall, which you can see in orange right here. That is within the subject's property. In gray, we have an old deck that has since been removed, including these stairs. And the petitioners have also removed a feature that was slightly encroaching into the abutting property, and they are in the process of restoring it. This retaining wall was built prior to the current ownership and without benefit of a permit. However, this was no fault of the current owners. This is the front of the residence looking northwest. And this is northeast down Old State and southwest. This is the driveway of the subject residence as it leads to the retaining wall feature. And this deck is now removed. And this is a northwestern view. And here you can see the retaining wall on site. Just a few different angles. And then this picture is to give you an idea of the steep drop off at the rear of the home. This is a view towards the abutting neighboring residence. And you can't see their home in this picture, but right here where I am circling my mouse is where you can see a corner of their home. It is 250 feet or so away from where I'm standing. And this was the only feature that was left encroaching on their property. It has since been removed. And as I mentioned, the owners are in the process of restoring the area. There has been one approved variance for building additions for property off of Old State Road. They received a variance for a 5-foot setback in lieu of a 30-foot setback. And that concludes my presentation. We have received no comments for or opposed. If you have any questions, Director Bunich and I are here to answer them.
So are they wanting to repair the retaining wall? Is that what's going on here?
They're looking to maintain the existing retaining wall. It is currently in existence. They're doing some other work and it came to, I believe it came to the attention of our code enforcement. Is that right, Joe?
Yes, when the plans for the new deck were submitted, the survey indicated the encroachment of the existing improvements into the side yard setback. So it became a code enforcement issue first, but certainly one that the Board of Adjustment can address. Thank you.
All right, at this time, I'd like to request that the petitioner here.
Yes, and Ms. Keefe will promote him.
Okay.
Thank you.
Could the petitioner please state your name, address, and relation to the property, and then be sworn in by the court reporter? Mr. Aber, if you can hear me, you're on mute.
How about that?
Now, there you are.
Oh, awesome. Okay. Thank you. My name is Michael Raber. My address is 1809 Old State Road, Wildwood, Missouri.
And what's your relationship to that property? Are you the owner?
The owner, my wife and
you.
I owners of the property.
All right, if you could be sworn in by the court reporter, please.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in this cause will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I
You are.
All right, Mr. Rayberg, at this time, can you please explain the nature of the request and the hardship or practical difficulty necessitating the variance as it relates to the character of your property?
Of course. The we became aware of the issue. We started work on upgrading the decks around the house, and we needed a still
He just looks
okay.
like happy as
And so we needed approval from the city and I guess the county to proceed with the new decks, and with the idea of removing the old deck that you guys were seeing on that deck that Robin took some pictures of is now gone. It has been demolished. Behind that deck was a retaining wall that we not realized was when we purchased the building or purchased the home in 2015, and it was existing. We didn't realize that it was encroaching within the building line. So it's been there. It is, I believe, part of the structural integrity of the driveway. If we remove the retaining wall, then we create significant issues. Driveway. I don't see how it there after it's been there all these years. It's probably been there at least a decade, maybe longer. So we're asking for relief from the 30-foot setback, basically.
Thank you, Mr. Rayber. At this time, I'd like to open the floor to any board members who may have questions.
So when you say that you remove the steps, there was a diagram up before that shows kind of your main house, and then the retaining wall, and then there's steps and a deck there. Did you remove the steps and the deck? I mean, is everything gone?
Yes.
Except for the retaining wall?
That is correct. Yes.
And you're not planning to put anything back there again, is that right?
No, well, obviously we can't, because that would, the deck would certainly be within the setback. It didn't occur to me, and I've had this conversation with Robin and Joe, that the wall would be considered a building in the sense of being encroaching on a setback. But regardless, it doesn't matter what I understand. It's there. We didn't build it. We didn't go in saying, oh, let's build this and not get it. It was existing when we purchased the house. So
just to be
starting. Sorry.
That's okay. Just to be clear, when this is all done, all that's going to be there is the retaining wall in the setback area. That's all that's going to be there. And it's also going to be completely on your property. It's not going to encroach, correct?
That exactly. Yes, that is correct.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions for the petitioner? All right, at this time, I'd like to open the floor to any speakers in the audience who may want to speak in favor of or opposition to the request.
Madam Chair, if you'll give me a second. To those attendees on Zoom tonight, if you would like to speak on this particular matter, if you would please use the raise hand feature or enter your interest in chat, and Ms. Keefe will promote you to a panelist. Madam Chair, I do not see a hand raise feature nor anything in chat, so thank you.
Thank you, Director Bunich. At this time, I'll offer the opportunity to hear an oral presentation of the department's report. If there are any requests? Seeing none, does the Department of Planning have any final comments?
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you. The Department of Planning in this case is recommending approval of retaining the retaining wall. The current owners purchased this property after the retaining wall was in existence. The property does have quite a slope to it, and the retaining wall very well may have something to do with the integrity of the existing driveway. And generally, the petitioners this evening have been very cooperative in removing the encroaching structures, such as the deck and what was featured in my presentation. So we are recommending approval.
All right, thank you. Does anyone on the board have any final comments? All right, at this time, I'll close the proceeding for a vote and ask for a motion to approve, deny, or approve with conditions.
Madam Chair, I motion to approve with the condition that a survey is submitted to the department that demonstrates that's not encroaching on the neighbor's property.
All right, we have a motion to approve, subject to a survey showing that it does not encroach on the neighboring property. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr.
May I-
Sparger.
Am I allowed to interrupt or have a comment right here?
Mr. Munich, is he allowed to talk right now?
Typically, once the chair closes the discussion and moves toward a motion and vote, the petitioner is no longer allowed to. But if the
Good.
board is inclined to, they can make a motion and second and vote to allow additional input.
Mary, since I came or did the motion, I would love to hear from the petitioner just in case there's something there that may.
All right, can we have a motion to allow the petitioner to add additional input?
I'll make a motion to allow the petitioner to make additional comments.
Thank you,
I
Mr.
second.
Springer.
I
All right,
second
we have a second from Mr. Frank. Mr. Rubus, how do you vote? You're on mute, sir.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Rubus. Mr. Frank,
Yes.
Ms. Coleman,
Yes.
Mr. Springer,
Yes.
and I also vote yes. Did I miss anyone on that round? Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Raver.
Thank you for your indulgence. I appreciate it. My question or my interruption is relative to the condition. So under condition, you're asking for an entire new survey of the property, or we have submitted an existing survey. Will that suffice? An entirely new survey is going to cost me about $2,500 to get this resurveyed again. So I would obviously enjoy not having to have it resurveyed.
Director Vunich, is the recommendation by the department concerning the spot survey still, has the department received that survey that Mr. Raber is speaking about?
The chair, I'm going to allow Ms. Keefe to answer that question.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Ms. Keith.
Madam Chair, just this week, the owner submitted a boundary survey that was completed originally when they bought the home. So that should satisfy the question of what is encroaching and what's not, and the retaining wall is not encroaching.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you for that.
Thank you very much.
All right. Back to, I'm going to go ahead and close the proceeding again for a vote and ask for a motion to approve, deny, or approve with conditions.
So
Go ahead, Arnie.
I just want to make sure we're absolutely clear. The retaining wall is not encroaching at all.
Yes,
That is correct.
it is not.
All right. Do we have a motion?
Yes, I will motion to approve the variance as requested.
Thank you, Mr. Frank. We have a motion from Mr. Frank to approve the request as submitted. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Springer, for seconding. Ms. Coleman, how do you vote?
Approve?
Mr. Rubus, how do you vote?
Approve.
Mr. Springer, how do you vote?
Approve.
Mr. Frank, how do you vote?
Approve.
I also vote to approve. Mr. Raber, your variance request has been approved as submitted. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Appreciate all your help.
All right, can we have the last petition be read into the record?
Yes, Madam Chair, I'd be glad to do it. Madam Chair and members of the board, the last item on tonight's agenda is BA 27-21, David and Christine Grebe, pardon my pronunciation, 18435 Hinkin Valley Estates Drive, Wildwood, Missouri, 63069. Request an exception to the natural resource protection standards for the purpose of retaining an existing fence upon the property located at 18435 Hinkin Valley Estates Drive, locator number 26X140161, Hinkin Valley Estates Re-subdivision, Lot 9, which would thereby authorize a minor relocation of the natural resource protection line, as well as the associated 25-foot foundation setback to accommodate the existing improvement. The request is contrary to the requirements of Chapter 420.200 Natural Resource Protection Standards and Procedures of the Subdivision and Development Regulations of the City of Wildwood Municipal Code as applied to properties located in the NU Non-Urban Resident District, and Chapter 415.090 NU Non-Urban District Regulations of the City of Wildwood Zoning Ordinance. The subject site is located in Ward 6. Madam Chair, before Ms. Keith begins her slide presentation, the department would like to enter into the record the following items. Chapter 400, Article 2 of the City of Wildwood Municipal Code, the Board of Adjustment. Chapter 415 of the same City of Wildwood Municipal Code, the Zoning Ordinance. The file that has been developed and maintained by the Department of Planning regarding this particular request, and all contents contained therein, including the department's report with recommendation. And then finally, any testimony, exhibits, plats, maps, or photographs that are entered as evidence at tonight's public hearing. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right, our third case of the evening is located in a familiar location. We are back in the Hinkin Valley Estate subdivision in Western Wildwood, located off of Highway 100. The subject lot in question is located where Hinkin Valley Estates Drive terminates into a cul-de-sac. It is a rectangular lot, approximately 3 acres. In the non-urban residence district, zoning district. And it is subject to the natural resource protection standards. On the property, built in 2016, is a single family dwelling. It is characteristically sloped with 95 feet of relief from the top of the cul-de-sac, which is based essentially on top of a hill, where it then descends downward. And here you can see the existing natural resource protection line in dark green. The light green represents the 20-foot foundation setback. The orange is the existing residence. Outlined in red is the existing fence on the property. And the area that is shaded is the portion contained or encroaching into the natural resource protection area. This is the front of the home facing northwest. And this is looking southeast. This is the southwestern side of the home and the side yard. And this is the other side of the home, looking at the beginnings of the fenced-in portion. This is the side yard, looking northeast, and then the vacant abutting lot. And here we've got a whole view of the fence in the rear yard. And this is looking southwest. This is a closer up view. That's the rear of the residence. Very back of the fence. And then this is the view from the fence looking northeast. One neighbor has expressed support of the variance, and there is trustee approval also on file. And there have been 5 similar variances related to natural resource protection area adjustments in the subdivision. So to be clear tonight, we are talking about an existing fence that was there prior to the owner's purchase of the property just this year in October. And that concludes my presentation. If you have any questions, Director Vivek and I are here to answer them.
Thank you, Ms. Keefe. Is the petitioner on? If the petitioner could please state your name, address in relation to the property, and then be sworn in by the court reporter.
Sure. My name's David Grabe. My wife Christine and I own the property at 18435 Hinkin Valley Estates Drive, 63069.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Grabe. Could you please be sworn in by the court reporter?
Sure.
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in this cause will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Grabe. Can you please explain the nature of your request and the hardship or practical difficulty necessitating the variance as it relates to the character of your property?
Yes, ma'am. So as stated by Robin, my wife and I purchased the property in October of 2021. And we had the survey done in conjunction with that purchase is when we realized that the fence had been put into the natural resource protection area. It was done, inadvertently. Previous owner didn't know, and the fence extended about, I think there's about 107 linear feet of fence in that protection zone. All the trees were left intact, but the fence itself was in that zone. So given that it was here when we purchased the property, our hope was to change that zone to keep from having to take the fence down and move it back in toward the home. That's why we're requesting the variance.
All right, thank you, Mr. Grabe. Do any board members have any questions for the petitioner? Okay, are there any speakers in the audience who want to speak in favor of or opposition to the request?
Madam Chair, we have one attendee. So again, if you'll just give me a second, I would appreciate it.
Sure.
To the attendee, if you would like to speak on this particular matter, if you could please use the raise hand feature or enter your interest in chat, and Ms. Keefe will promote you to a panelist so you can participate. Madam Chair, I do not see a raised hand feature nor anything in chat, so thank you again.
All right, thank you. At this time, I'd like to offer the opportunity to hear an oral presentation of the department's report. Seeing no requests for that, does the Department of Planning have any final comments?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I apologize, just one moment. Well, I might just, okay, here we go. All right, the Department of Planning is recommending approval in this instance. We have determined that the hardship is not self-imposed, given that the purchase of the property occurred after the fence was put in. It's a relatively minor adjustment to move the resource protection line to match with the existing fence. And it would probably be more detrimental to the natural area to remove it at this point. So with that, we just recommend that there is a condition that a revised deed and exhibit be submitted to the department for recording with the St. Louis County Recorder of Deeds. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Keefe. Are there any board members that have any final comments? Seeing none, at this time, I'd like to close the proceeding before a vote and ask for a vote to, motion to approve, deny, or approve with conditions. Go ahead, Mr. Rubus.
Make a motion that we accept the recommendation of the Department of Planning and approve this variance.
So subject to the condition of the revised deed.
Yes, that was the
Okay.
recommendation.
All right, we have a motion to approve the variance as submitted or with the condition that they record a revised deed reflecting the changes in the resource protection line from Mr. Rubus. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, thank you, Ms. Coleman. We have a second. Ms. Coleman, how do you vote?
Approve.
Mr. Springer, how do you vote?
Approve?
Mr. Rubus, how do you vote?
Approve.
Mr. Frank, how do you vote?
Approve.
I also vote to approve. Your variance has been approved, subject to the requirement that you record a revised deed showing the change in resource protection line. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Grape.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, that's all we have tonight. Ms.
All
Keefe and-
righty.
Ms. Keefe and I would like to thank you all for your service and wish you a very happy Thanksgiving and holiday season.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving to all of you.
Yes, happy
Very good.
Thanksgiving.
Holidays.
What's the date of the next meeting?
That would be December, Thursday, December the 16th at 7.
All right, this meeting is adjourned. Have a good night.